I'm Patricia Joan Murphy, Democratic Committee Person of Worth Township. I'd like to welcome you to the 80, the Cook County Democratic Party's podcast about our organization, its candidates, and its leaders. We are currently interviewing the party's endorsed candidates for the June 28th, 2022 primary election, so you can learn more about their backgrounds and unique stories. Today, I am very excited to welcome Tom Nowinski, who is a candidate for judge. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you very much, Committeeperson Murphy. It's great to be here.
It's so great to have you. Why don't we just start by telling me a little bit about yourself, about the young Tom Nowinski, per se.
Sure. So I grew up in the south suburbs with my parents and three sisters. I went to high school in the south suburbs, Marist High School. And, when I was a young, I used to go to work with my dad. My dad was a judge for a long time. And when I was a kid and not able to work yet on summer break, I would go to the courthouse. I'd watch him, watch other judges, talk to lawyers, the state's attorneys, public defenders, clerks, sheriffs. They all knew the little Nowinski kid who would be running around, trying to not make too much noise. But it was at that young age that's kind of when I knew I wanted to go into a career in the law and eventually, go and become a judge and, actually make a difference in people's lives. So grew up down there and then I stayed in Chicago for my entire life. I went to Loyola University Chicago for undergraduate. Then I stayed and went to Loyola Law School. So I've been here. That's when I met my wife. And now I live with my wife and two daughters in Oak Park. So that's a little bit about me personally.
So you're south side, north side, Sox or Cubs?
So I am a Cubs or a Sox fan. Sorry. Okay. So there was a small portion of my life when I went to Loyola, and we were 3 L stops away from Wrigley. It was dirt cheap to get a ticket to the bleachers, so I spent a lot of time and kind of became a Cubs fan. But then I would always in the back of my mind remember old Comiskey and going to Connie's Pizza or Vito and Nick's or Lindy's Gertie's on the way with my dad to the ball game, and then it just brings me back to those days. And so definitely a Sox fan.
It does. There's a lot of people that have that same experience. If you moved out of state and you only got the Cubs, you kind of cheered them on too. But if it's south side kids, you're always grew up Sox fans, right?
Always true to the heart.
Mm-hmm. So you were saying about how'd you meet your wife?
So I met my wife on the eve of the 4th of July, really, July 4th, where the fireworks downtown in Grant Park, and I met her, and we hit it off. Although for some reason, it took me 2 weeks to call her back after I got her number that night, but I eventually did, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And thank God every day that she decided to go back out on a date with me, and yes, so that I met her downtown under the fireworks.
Oh, how romantic is that? And now that you're running for judge, how is she with all the campaigning and the rigorous schedule that you're keeping and everything else? How's your family rolling along with this? They must know because you're dad, but still.
Yeah, they're troopers. My wife and my daughters, all of them. I would not be able to do this without them. My daughters are 11 and 14, and so they have a lot of activities, and it's hard enough when there's 2 drivers to chauffeur them around everywhere. Now that's down to 1, and my wife has stepped up and is doing double duty. So my wife is my rock that is keeping me solid throughout this entire process and this last sprint. But they've been. I keep telling them, after June 28th, we can go and do these things. So they now know the answer when they ask questions of me.
Well, and That's true. And everybody's saying, oh, so if you can go anywhere after June 28th, where would you and your family pick to go?
Oh boy, if I could go anywhere, it would be to go to back to Italy.
Oh,
But
nice.
I don't know when that's next in the cards. Hopefully soon. It's just going to be to spend the time with them and not have to worry about when, uh, um, where do I have to go next? Because it's an important thing to me to actually be out in the community and to be meeting the voters. I'm not somebody who is just sitting and waiting for people to come and vote for me because of my name or something. I believe that judges need to be learning from the community, learning from the people, hearing what the issues are, hearing what their concerns are, ensuring that the voters realize that they need to have a qualified judiciary. They need qualified judges. You don't want to learn who the judge is when you have to walk and stand up in front of her or him. You want to know who that judge was when you voted for that person, so that you know that you're going to get a fair shake. You know that they're going to be following the law. You know that they're going to be honest. You know that they're going to treat you fairly. You know that they're going to understand the needs of the community that you come from. And so that's why I've been trying to be all over Cook County to tell the voters and ensure the voters know who I am.
And you have been, I can attest to that. You've been everywhere, and not just now. I mean, since I met you several years ago, you've had these aspirations and you have worked for it and helped everyone else that you believed in get on the bench. And I truly believe this is your time for sure. And we always love having you come out to Worth Township, your old home.
Yeah.
And but your judges, they're so important to vote for, because you're going to see a judge probably more than you'll see any other elected official in a personal manner or whatever, whether it's a traffic ticket or something real estate, or for whatever reason, or anything else you might be in charge of in front of a judge for. You want to make sure that you have someone that's going to listen and someone that's going to really give you a fair shake. And I really think it takes a certain temperament and personality type to be a judge, and to make people feel like they're, even if you have to have bad news, to make them feel like they are, have been heard and that they're getting a fair shake. And I just think that that's who you are at your core. You're a beautiful human being inside and out. And I'm really happy that you're one of our slated candidates. Tell us something that we don't know about you, or tell our listeners or our viewers, like, what are some of the things about Tom Nowinski that no one really, would know just from meeting you, knocking on the door?
Yeah. So one thing that people don't know, I mean, they sort of know now. I grew up, I didn't have any brothers. Now I have a wife and 2 daughters. So, back in the day, it was, on vacations, my dad and I going and playing golf or doing our thing while my sisters and my mom did their thing. But, I think that I definitely know that is something that has really shaped who I am, right? As a person. I've certainly the respect for all women, and realizing how strong that women are in the community and the leaders that they are. I work now, currently I'm the chief of staff for the clerk of the circuit court, Iris Martinez, and I'm honored to be on her staff. It's, sometimes she may joke with me and say, oh, you're very good at listening to everything that's going on. And I said, look, I know what it means to listen. You learn more by listening than by talking. And that's something that has shaped who I've been. That's something that shaped my entire legal career. I've done everything, almost everything under the sun: criminal law, civil law, state court, federal court, jury trials, bench trials. I've done administrative activities. Like I said, I'm the clerk of the circuit court's chief of staff right now. I have extensive relationships with organized labor. And it's all these different facets put together that makes the person, right? That's what each little step along my career and my life has really given me a different perspective of how to look at things. When I was in college, I studied a semester in Rome, Italy. That shaped who I was, because I met people from not only all over the country who I was studying with, but from all over the world. And so it's giving me that keen understanding of listening and respecting the views of everybody will make better informed decisions and will make me a better person.
That is very true. And you have an extensive resume, and you recorded deeds and with Iris Martinez and your extensive work with labor, and not just and mostly I noticed it was helping people that were having issues resolve them. So if it was, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that takes a lot, a certain kind of person too, to be able to do that and understand both sides and help someone who might have a complaint or something about their job and they're intimidated. And then you come in. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I started my career as a state's attorney, and one of the cases that sticks out in my mind that literally had, like, to this day, helps me with the lens of how I view things. There was a woman who was late for court. She missed her morning court date. She came in the afternoon, and the judge had issued a warrant for arrest. The case was called, and she came running in. She had a child in each arm. I was working out of the Markham courthouse, and she apologized. She was, for some different traffic tickets, and she was facing well over $1,000 in fines. And the judge turned to me as the state's attorney and said, "All right, what do you want to do?" And I, although the woman said, "Yes, I was speeding. I'm sorry. I just want to take care of this. I'm sorry I wasn't here. I was working 2 jobs. I had to pick up my kids." Mm-hmm. So I ended up dismissing the tickets. And because, I don't know if that meant that her kids could have clothes or school supplies. But she started crying. She gave me a big hug. She ran around the bench before the sheriff could stop her, gave the judge a big hug. And, if I wasn't wearing this coat, you'd see that I still have goosebumps because, justice doesn't necessarily mean guilty or not guilty. Justice means doing the right thing, doing what's going to benefit society, what's going to make a positive impact in somebody's life. And so I've carried that thought, like that really cemented that I want to continue to make positive changes in people's lives. I believe being a judge is a fantastic way of being able to do that, because a judge really has the ability to affect somebody's life immensely. And I've carried that throughout my entire career. So, in representing and dealing with labor and employment cases, it's about making sure that the employees get a fair shake. It's about making sure that people who are discriminated against aren't discriminated against and doing something about it. It's about making sure that people have a wage that they can live on, and not, it's impossible. It's sad when some people have full-time jobs, yet they still I have no idea how they can live on it. And so one of the things when I came to the clerk's office was that's something that Clerk Martinez and I did. We made sure that we provided increases to the employees, because they hadn't had increases in many, many, many years. And that was something that we couldn't stand by and let happen. So that's, my mom always said, "Tom, do the right thing." And that's how I approach every situation, is doing the right thing, doing what I think is the right thing to do. And I think judges need to have that discretion, obviously follow the law, but the law allows discretion for judges to have discretion. They need to use that in a positive way.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I noticed also that you do a lot of work outside in the community and focused on kids. And
Yep.
why don't you share a little bit about that? Because it's really some of the things I was reading about just really moved me. And I'd love for our audience to hear about that because it's really something special about you.
Sure. Yeah. Again, it's trying to make the world a better place, I guess you can say. I'm on a board called the Child Foundation, and what we do is we provide services and education and support for children with developmental and learning disabilities, and provide them services, which really makes an impact in people's lives who really need that help and need those services. I'm also a mentor to he's now a senior in high school, but it was a high school student. I've been his mentor for several years now. He goes to Trinity High School in Wicker Park, but he is not your traditional Trinity student. He's part of a program called PEAK, Partnership for the Education and Advancement of Kids. And what that program is deserving students from underadvantaged, disadvantaged areas of the city can apply to be in this program. They have to be accepted. It doesn't go to, the kid who has straight A's. It goes to the kid who really wants to put in the effort, put in the work to better themselves. And that's what my mentor, Ricky, does. And Ricky and I have formed this relationship where, I'm able to call him up and maybe talk to him in a different way than his parents, that he'll talk to his parents with, right? Or his teachers or his counselor. We go on outings, and my goal is to give him another set of eyes, another way of looking at things, to try to use my experiences to try and help him, help him achieve his best self. I gotta say, when I first started the program, I was a little nervous. I was meeting a freshman in high school, and I remember what it was like, what it was like being a freshman in high school. And I don't know who was more nervous, him or me. But it's watching him over the years really grow and change and kind of, and take some of my advice, sometimes not take my advice, but so be it. It's been fantastic. And so, I've tried to do things in the community to share what I've learned, and to share things that I've benefited from with others. Yeah.
It's amazing. And he'll probably go on and do the same for someone else. And everyone would do that. Just they tell two friends and so on and so on and so on. Well, you are 100% qualified for this position. You worked so hard. Love when you come down to see us in Worth Township. I know you've been all over the place. And we'll do everything we can to make sure our voters go out. And when we talk to our voters, what punch number do they remember? And can you give us a little, tell us your website also?
Sure. So punch number 171. My website is nowinskiforjudge.com. And just remember, the time to act is now. Vote Nowinski for judge on June 28th.
I love it. Well, punch 171. Let's get it done. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Tom.